In today's video, I'm going to share with you my high protein, high fiber banana bread recipe. Let's go. Hi, I'm Aleksa, climate dietitian, sports dietitian, and nutrition coach. Welcome again to one of my videos. Now, before we get into today's recipe, remember, subscribe, ring the bell, awesome. So banana bread is one of those baking favorites. Everyone wants to be able to eat banana bread, but they also understand that banana bread is quite high in calories. So what do you do there? Well, obviously I'm an advocate of enjoy normal stuff as well. So enjoy your normal banana bread, but sometimes perhaps you just want a more macro friendly or more calorie friendly option that you can have maybe on a more consistent basis. Or at least that it's going to help not only tick off a craving, but also help get you closer to your daily caloric goals and your daily protein goals and so on and so forth. That is why I created this banana bread recipe. It's a high protein variation to the original traditional classic that we all know and love. And when you compare it to the traditional banana bread, it's a lot lower in calories, but a lot higher in protein and definitely a lot higher in fiber. So I'm sure you're going to love it. So without further ado, let's get into the kitchen and get cracking. So here we have the ingredients. So we're going to start wholemeal self-raising flour, got some hemp flour, got some yogurt, got some oats, of course some protein powder, you can't go wrong with that. We've got some ripe bananas, egg whites, cinnamon, and of course stevia. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix in the dry ingredients and then we're going to mix in the wet ingredients and then put it all together, whip it all up and get it all going. So obviously, we first get started with the flour. Now, I'm using some of the wholemeal flour just for some extra fiber and extra goodness. I'm using the self-raising. Now, it's been a while since I've experimented with the normal flour in this recipe, but you can obviously use normal all-purpose flour and just add your own baking powder, of course. But I'm going to use this today, and I'm going to add about 34 grams, which is roughly about a quarter of a cup. So I'm just going to be nice and steady with this because we don't want to get the flour wrong, of course. So nice and steady does it. Move it there. And we have, there we go, slightly over, but nothing to concern ourselves about. Then we're going to use some of the hemp flour. Now you may be wondering, why hemp flour? Well, it's got more protein than obviously normal flour, but the amount of fiber that's in this is ridiculous, and I find it adds a nice nutty texture for a different variation of the classic banana bread. So I don't actually mind a bit of hemp flour, but if it is a bit overpowering, you can obviously substitute with other flours such as lupin flour, or you can even trial, I haven't done it myself, I've been thinking of doing it, which is the banana flour, okay, the green banana flour or whatever it's called. But this is the one I'm using. Now obviously keep in mind this will give it a different texture, it will give it a different taste than traditional banana bread, but you know, I find it tastes quite nice still. And it gives it just that bit of a different flavor profile while providing a lot more nutrition with more bang for your buck. But we're going to put about 30 grams of this, also about a quarter of a cup. Remember to zero it out, of course, as always. Put it in there. There we go. Right where it needs to be. Okay, next thing we're going to add is we're going to add some rolled oats. Now, different recipes that use rolled oats will use different techniques. So some will make a oat flour by blitzing it all up. In this recipe, I find it works okay just using it as it is, and it adds a bit of flakiness to the actual banana bread. But you can use whatever you want. As long as it's oats, it's going to be fine. So if you prefer more of a finer texture, you know, feel free to blitz it up in your Ninja blender or whatever and use that instead. But we're just going to use this here, and it's about half a cup, which is about 40 grams. Try and get that as accurate as I can. Zero it out as always. This should get us close to, there we go. 40 grams, actually it should be just a tiny bit more. 45 grams, sorry. That's my bad, 45 grams. 45 grams of the oats. Now next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some of the cinnamon. So only about a half a teaspoon. I'm going to try my best to get this nice and neat. Never like this kind of part. There we go. Just adds a bit of flavor. You can obviously experiment with a bit of nutmeg as well if you want. Then we're going to add some of this alternative sweetener. This is the one I use. Just because it's organic, that's not why I use it. It's just a stevia. I don't mind the stevia, and it adds a bit of sweetness to it. I did miss this step last time I made this banana bread, and it wasn't as sweet as I would have preferred it, even with the bananas. But we're going to give this a go today and see how we try. So we're going to put out 15 grams of it in here. Now it sounds like a lot, but trust me, you'll be surprised when it's all mixed in that it's not that much of a strong flavor, at least based on other baked goods that I've used it in. But you can obviously, this is one of those optional ones. You can adjust it based on your own preferences. You can go without it, you can go with more, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I'm going to go about 15 because I find that's a sweet spot for where I enjoy it. Done. Okay, so that's the dry ingredients nearly done. All we're going to do now is put in the protein powder. Now, as you can see, obviously, I am using the vanilla one. The reason being is because it's got much more of a neutral flavor. You can use whatever you want. I've tried it with chocolate before. Didn't really have the banana bread flavor that I wanted. You can even go for neutral, like zero flavoring whey protein. Doesn't really matter. Just some good quality whey protein of vanilla flavor. It's going to work perfectly okay. And we want to add about 52 grams or a scoop and a half of it. So that should get us to about 36. Yep. Let's go a bit more. Get us to about that 52 gram mark. Not quite there yet. You don't even taste the vanilla really in there. So if you're not a fan of vanilla flavor, don't worry. There we go, 52. Don't worry, it'll be perfectly fine. You're not going to notice a difference. The protein is literally there just to bump up that protein intake, and we can hit our targets more easily. What you do there is then you just mix it all in, okay? Just using a whisk or whatever, doesn't really matter. I like using a whisk, nice and even. Try not to make a mess like I just did. Just put it all nice and evenly. This is especially important if you're using all-purpose flour and baking powder separately, because then you want to make sure it's nicely and evenly distributed. There we go. That should be a-okay right there. So I'm just going to put that on the side now. Grab this off another bowl. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start mixing in the wet ingredients. Okay, first we're going to get started with the bananas. We're going to mash this up. Now keep in mind, what I'm going to be doing is using a fork, the old school way. It's going to take a bit longer, a bit more effort. You can do whatever you want here. You can blitz it up into your Ninja blender and put it in there. You can use a masher. You can use a like a whisk, like an electronic whisk. You can use a normal whisk. Doesn't matter. Okay, as long as the banana's nicely mashed up, that's all you need to worry about. Now these bananas are pretty ripe, but not as ripe as I usually prefer for banana bread. But that doesn't matter, because I find that around this mark here, you get a nice banana flavor. Break it up into pieces, makes it easier to mash up. Don't do that. Don't stuff up like I stuffed up there. There we go. Now we just start mashing this up, make it nice and soft, and then we're just going to add the final wet ingredients, which is pretty much just the yogurt and the egg whites. Now the yogurt, we're going to add about 30 grams of yogurt and about 66 grams or 2 tablespoons worth of, or 2 egg white worth, I guess, of egg whites. Now you can separate your own egg whites, doesn't really matter. I use the carton version, it's just easier for me. I can't be bothered really separating egg whites, but do whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. Get this all mashed up nicely. Okay. The more mashed up, the better it is. Okay, so just use that as a guide. The more mashed up, the better it is. Really, to be honest, like this kind of part of the recipe will really be similar to your traditional banana bread anyway. Okay, it's really just the differences in the ingredients. Nearly there where I want it. This is a really good forearm workout as well. So, if you've skipped the gym and you need to hit forearms or whatever, this can give you a bit of a forearm workout. Whoever thought that baking can get you some other gains, okay? Some muscle gains. There we go. Nice and liquidy, or whatever you want to call it. There we go. we'll leave it at that, okay? Put that in there, zero this out, and get cracking with the other one. So what we're going to do is going to put 30 grams of the yogurt in there. Okay. There we go, 30 grams, perfect. And then we're going to get the egg whites. About, like I said, 66 grams of egg whites. Egg whites, you've got to be very careful. It's one of those ones I find that while you're measuring it, it will go from 0 to 100 very quickly. So be extra careful. And I find this is quite an important step. I once made the recipe with just the one because I only had a little bit of left. That was unfortunate, and I found it didn't come out as well as I wanted it to. Okay, it didn't come out as well as I wanted it to. Just mix it in. It won't look great. Okay, but that's not the point, is it? The point is, how is it going to look and how is it going to taste after it is nicely finished and baked up for us to enjoy. Okay, mix that all nicely in. Now that that's done, all we got to do is mix these two together, okay? Dry ingredients, wet ingredients, and then we put it in the pan, ready to go. Okay, make sure it's all nice and ready to go. Start putting it in. Doesn't really matter how you do this, bit by bit, mix it in. I can't be bothered, I'm just going to put it all in and just mix it all through for you. Using a whisk, use whatever you want, again, as always. And like with baking and stuff, everyone's oven, everyone's ingredients are going to be slightly different. Everyone's going to use a slightly different protein powder. Everything's going to be a bit different in your own kitchen. So with baked goods, always remember that you're never going to get it perfect the first round, okay? You're never going to get it perfect the first round unless you're lucky. So if the first time it doesn't come out as you wanted to, let's say it's not as sweet, add some more sweetness to it. Let's say it's too dry, adjust the timing, adjust the temperature slightly, okay? I wouldn't go too far ahead of the temperature unless you know your oven's not that accurate. But just adjust, okay? That's the whole purpose with anything when it comes to this. Nutrition, baking, cooking, fitness, just adjust, okay? There we go, it's nicely mixed in, combined. And that should be ready to go. Okay, so now that we have all our ingredients together, what we're going to do is just put it into the bread pan. As you can see, I've already lined it with baking paper. Now, this is an optional step. The reason I'm doing this is, one, I don't have to add extra calories via some spray oil. And two, sometimes it just helps to not have to clean the pan as much as you would with this. A lot easier, you pop it out, Bob's your uncle. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to transfer it into this pan here. Just be nice and careful so that you don't stuff it up. I'm talking from experience, it's happened to me. Okay, it's happened to me, so be careful. It's annoying when it happens. Okay. And just make it nice and even. It won't be a perfect looking banana bread like you see in the stores or none of that, okay? And there's obviously different variations you can do this, okay? You can slice a banana in half and put it on top and make it look fancy. There is also part of this recipe, I do have a topping that can go on there. It's like a crumbly sweet topping. I'm not doing that for today because I just want to do a basic one for you so just can get started, because the topping can really be your own choice. But of course, if you want more information about that, let me know, drop a comment below. But this is just going to be for the basic variation. I'm just going to put that nice so it's all nice and done. Okay, so that's all good. So it's all good to go. So what we're going to do now is I've preheated the oven to about 160 fan forced, okay, 160 degrees Celsius, convert it to Fahrenheit if that's what you're using, and pop it in there for about 30 to 40 minutes. Now, it will depend on your oven, of course, and the ingredients and everything in terms of how fast it will cook properly. But essentially around the 30 mark, keep taking it out every few minutes or so until you do the toothpick test. Okay, the toothpick test is when you put it in, and if it's clean, it's good to go. Do it in different areas because I found that sometimes one side cooks better than the other. So do the toothpick test around the 30-minute mark, and a few minutes after that, and just check for doneness. So let's pop this in, and we're good to go. So this oven's all ready to go. Just gonna put this in there. Timer for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna check it then. Okay, I'll be with you soon.
A few moments later.
Okay, so now it's done. Let's take it out. Give that smell test. Smells great. So let's see what we get. Okay, so I've just got it on a cooling rack, ready to go. So as you can see, it's slightly different to what you'd expect from a normal traditional banana bread. For example, it doesn't rise as much. Now, obviously, I could have played around with the baking powder. I could have added some more, considering that I only had half normal flour, half hemp flour. But to be honest, that's not the purpose of this. It's just to find something that's going to be close enough, still get you that fix, but taste great and hit your protein targets, hit your macro targets more effectively. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slice it up. We'll see what we get. Okay, so let's cut into this. Probably should let it cool a bit more, but for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to open it up for you so you can see what it looks like. There we go. As you can see there, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but that's not the purpose, like I said. So I'll put that aside. As you can see, it's still pretty decent. It still hits the spot, and trust me, it's going to taste great. As you can see, I've got it on the plate there. Hopefully you can see it well. So I'm going to give it a taste test, let you know what I think, and as always, give you a verdict. That is really good. It's actually turned out better than the last time I created this, and I honestly think the sweetener made that difference. Yes, you get the sweetness from the ripe bananas, the fact that the bananas go from containing more starch to containing more, sweetness to them. But even so, adding just a bit more sweetener does make a difference, and definitely having the right amount of egg whites really was important. Now that's good. That's good, and considering that the amount of protein you're getting in this and the amount of fiber with using the hemp flour, it's ridiculous. Yeah, that's good. Traditionally, I used to make this recipe with just 2 bananas. I switched to making it to 3 just because I personally like a bit more of a stronger banana flavor in my banana bread. But of course, you can use it just 2 bananas, you'll be perfectly fine. But as you can see, this has gone down a treat. So, some disclaimers. Is this going to taste like normal, traditional banana bread that you go to the store and you buy a slice? No. But it's not supposed to. Okay, that's not the purpose of it. There's always going to have to be some compromise. And I've said this time and time again. If you watch my stuff long enough, you'll know what I'm talking about here. If you want your normal banana bread, enjoy your normal banana bread. I eat normal banana bread as well. My mum, for example, makes some great banana bread. And when she makes them, I get a slice. But if you want banana bread on a more consistent basis, or you just want a banana bread that's going to give you more of a macro-friendly hit, this is a go for. Okay, this is one you should try and see for yourself. Because so it depends on how many slices you create. Will depend on how much you actually get out of this. But I'm going to put the information for a general serve here for this banana bread. But generally speaking, compared to like 100 grams of this compared to 100 grams of a normal banana bread, you're actually getting nearly double the amount of protein, a lot more fiber, but the calories are a lot less. You can't lose, okay? It's a calorie friendly, it's macro friendly, and it's going to give you that banana bread hit without that banana bread calories that we're known to have in the past, okay? So really, I would recommend you give this one a go and see what you think for yourself. Now, of course, if you do create this, post your creations, okay? Post your creations on Instagram or Facebook and tag me at The Climbing Dietitian. I want to see what you create. And of course, if you try this and you love it, or even if you hate it, let me know, okay? Let me know in the comments below what you think of this recipe and how it turned out for you. And as always, if this video has been helpful, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and as always, stay classy. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.